Okay, so I wanted to actually add another way that we can use square roots to solve. And that's if you have things like this where you have a binomial in parentheses like these. You can actually use square roots because you can get the squared term by itself. So if I have a problem like this, if I have x squared minus 5x plus 4, and if I were trying to solve this just really quickly, so x squared minus 5x is equal to negative 4, I can't get, if I get the x squared, I can't get the x's all on one side with this, like where I can't get the x by itself. So the problem with this, you can't do it, you can't use square roots for regular quadratics, but for these right here, just like the previous problems, if you have a squared, you can actually get rid of the square root by taking the square root of each side. So in this case, I'm going to take the square root of each side. Now I have x plus 4 is equal to the positive or negative, and just remember that, square root of 169. You can use your calculator. The square root of 169 is 13. I can subtract 4 from each side. So this is going to be negative 4 plus or minus 13. Now when you have a whole number here, okay, we actually have two things. It's either negative 4 plus 13, that's one answer, and your other answer is going to be x could be equal to negative 4 minus 13. That's what that means. So in this case, my two solutions are going to be 9 or negative 17. And of course, we use our fancy brackets, lowest to highest, negative 17 and 9. I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. This one's just a little bit different. So again, I can take the square root of each side. So I have x plus 2 is equal to the positive or negative square root of 14. And 14 I actually can't simplify, okay? 14, if I go through, divided by 2 is 7, divided by 7 is 1. There are no perfect squares, so I can't simplify that. So all I do for this problem, because I have an irrational number, because I have a radical still, my answer is actually going to be negative 2 plus or minus radical 14. And that's going to be your answer, negative 2 plus or minus radical 14. These ones down here, not much different. For this, I want to first get this squared term, this thing in parentheses is squared by itself. So the first thing I would do here is I would add 25. So this is 2x minus 3 squared equals 25. Then I do the same thing that I did for the previous problems. I take the square root. So this is 2x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 25. 2x minus 3 is equal to positive or negative 5. I add 3 to each side. So this one's going to be a little tricky, and this actually has to do with our next lesson. 2x is equal to 3 plus or minus 5, and then I divide each side by 2. X is equal to 3 plus or minus 5 over 2. Okay? So I'm going to do this in a different color. We can actually split this up because I don't have a radical. So it's either x is equal to 3 plus 5 over 2, or x is equal to 3 minus 5 over 2. So I add it. 3 plus 5 is 8, divided by 2. So one of my solutions is 4. This could also be minus 2. 3 minus 5 is negative 2 over 2, so x could be negative 1. And so my solutions are negative 1 and 4. Okay, similarly, we have another one like this. I move everything over because all of my x's are in parentheses with this squared. So this is x plus 1 squared is equal to 8. I take the square root. X plus 1 is equal to plus or minus radical 8. Subtract 1, subtract 1. X is equal to negative 1 plus or minus radical 8. Now, just like the problem up here, I have a little bit of an issue. I just need to make sure is 8 simplified because your answer needs to be in simplest form. So I take 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I know that I can simplify my 8. So this is going to be -1 plus or minus. I'm going to have a 2 on the outside, a 2 on the inside. Beyond this, we're actually just going to leave this as our answer because I can't combine the -1 in my radical. So we just kind of leave that. Just a couple other practice problems. I'm just going to go through these relatively quickly. These are not much different. Subtract 9, 4 times x minus 2 squared is equal to 16. I then divide by 4. Okay, so I get rid of everything that's outside the radical. So sometimes there's a number there. And so this is going to be x minus 2 squared is equal to 4. Take the square root. X minus 2 is equal to plus or minus radical 4. X minus 2 is equal to plus or minus 2. And you can simplify your radical at any point. I add 2 to each side. X is equal to 2 plus or minus 2. Okay, I'm going to switch my colors. So it's either x is equal to 2 plus 2, so my x value could be 4, or x is equal to 2 minus 2, so my x value could be 0. So my solutions here are going to be 0 and 4. Last one, I'm just going to go through this one. I get rid of everything that's on the outside of the radical, so I'm going to add 14 to each side. So I have 2 times x plus 2 squared is equal to 24. I divide each part by 2. X plus 2 squared is equal to 12. Take the square root. X plus 2 is equal to plus or minus radical 12. I subtract 2, x is equal to -2 plus or minus radical 12. Okay. Now here, do you see that every single time I'm just getting this by itself and then I take the square root? So you isolate your square term and find the square root. I need to see if 12 can be simplified before I write down my answer. 12 divided by 2 is 6, 6 divided by 2 is 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 12 can be simplified. This is going to be -2 plus or minus 2 radical 3. And that's going to be your final answer there. So that's how to do simplify radicals or solve quadratics another way if you have your binomial in parentheses where you can get your x by yourself.